Hi, this is Lily, a social worker with Child Protective Services, also known as DCSF, CPS, CWS, a whole bunch of different acronyms, right, depending on where you live. And I made my channel to just kind of ramble on and try to share my knowledge about the system, as well as just having something positive to do, like a little hobby while I'm working on my mental health. And today I figure I would talk to you about, excuse me, about good type of workers and bad type of workers, as well as good supervisors, bad supervisors to have. So, the very first type of worker that I learned not to be is the one that shows up to court in flip flops. Sorry. As comfortable as you can get with your families and your job, we are still professionals. Being super casual on the job doesn't show the right image of a professional assessment. And I'm bringing this up first because it was like the first thing I saw in training, and I was like horrified. Like, this lady went to court to testify as an expert in jean skirt and flip flops. Not okay. Now, I don't, it just gave me the vibe of somebody that doesn't really care for their job. Like, I don't know if she did her job well or not, because that's all I could focus on. And I only met this person that one time because I was in training and I was just shadowing random people. But that's not a good impression to make. Another type of social worker that I learned it's not that great is the one that is always super strict. No, I told you do this and this is what you're gonna do. That is not helpful. It's not helpful because we are dealing with people that have issues. That's why they get to us, and our job is to help them. Another type of social worker that you don't want to be or you don't want to have on your side is the one that tells you yes to everything. On the opposite side, they're your body, they connect with you, they help you with everything, advocate for the parent, because at the end of the day, people do make mistakes and they screw up. And our job is to protect the children, not to protect the parents. Another type of worker not to be is one that's unavailable, one that you can never find, doesn't return calls, is not in the office ever. You just can't get a hold of them to get your questions answered, to get your resources, and you can never really have like a good conversation about what you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing. Those are the ones that I can think of, like, definitely knows. Some good traits that I've seen is people that treat you like a human. Because a lot of this is one or a few of the supervisors I've had that look at the parents who work with us. You got yourself into this mess, you're gonna work to get yourself out. Or, you know, you made this mistake, now you're dealing with the consequences. Tough. That's not an attitude to have towards people you're trying to help. So, a good worker that you want to have is somebody that has open and honest communication with you, that will set appropriate limits. This is one that I struggle with because for many, many years I did tell my clients I do not give out my cell phone. I will not give you my cell phone. If you need something, you have my desk number, leave a message, I'll get to you eventually. But with the pandemic started, all the calls were coming to my cell phone, so might as well. And then we lose that boundary. Now I have people thinking I'm their buddy and they're texting me all kinds of weird stuff. So having boundaries is very important. I like to give my family tough love. I like to use humor to connect, which some people might find as inappropriate. It's my personality. If somebody flat out tells me I don't like it, I'll try, but it'll slip out because that's just how I am. But the main thing being a good social worker is treating people as humans, regardless of what their past is, helping them with boundaries and having good, honest communication. So I often tell families I'm working with, this is what my job is, this is what my recommendations are as a social worker. I may or may not, I might not completely agree with this, and this is what's likely going to happen. I oftentimes tell them what I think as a person is not as important because in my job, my personal feelings don't go into it. So you and I might have a great working relationship here, and I might believe you're doing the best you can, but at the end of the day, my personal opinion is not what goes in my report. What goes in my report is my professional opinion and assessment that I've consulted with my supervisor, my manager, whatever level we have to go to make those recommendations, and they don't always match. Most of the time they do, but sometimes they don't. So one of the things in that honest communication is I often tell them, like, hey, I know you're making a lot of progress. You're working really hard. But this is what I have to tell the court, that you're not far along in your recovery or whatever it is, right? You have not made enough progress. That doesn't mean that you're not on the way, that you're not making progress. It just means that in this time, at this space and time, this is what the recommendation is going to be. Now, you have your assigned attorney. You tell your attorney you don't agree. You ask them for a trial. In that time between now and the trial, you keep working hard. You might be at that place. Now, is this inappropriate for me to say? I don't think so. I think it's very important for them to know that they have options. That I always tell them, while I'm working towards taking away your rights, I'm also working towards helping you, because the judge is the one that makes the final decision. So even though I'm typing a report saying you haven't made enough progress, you're not trying hard enough, and I don't think your children should go back to you, at the same time I'm typing that report, I'm helping you get set up in your classes, helping you see your kids more often, helping you access resources, because that's my job. Now, for supervisors, the very first supervisor I ever had, Gloria, she was amazing. She was very strict, but not in a mean way. She treated us like adults. She put the responsibility on us to look up the rules first, because we're not expected to memorize our whole 400 pages of rules, but when you're in doubt, you go look up your policy. So that's a very good habit I learned from the very beginning. I still do that because it's very important that we're doing it, that we don't just go back to, that we don't just go to this is the way it's always been, that we have to check in. Is like, wait, maybe it's changed since the last time I did it. Another thing that she was great at was, if we had a question for her and we couldn't find it in the policy, she would call somebody to figure it out and give us an answer right then and there. Not I'll figure it out later or I'll let you know. No. She would call another supervisor with more experience and say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think? What should we do? Okay, this is what we're doing. And we always came up with a plan. So somebody that's responsive to your needs, that's teaching you how to do things right. That's, for me, that's a good quality in a supervisor. Another supervisor I've had that had a very good style, was very comforting. She had like a mom vibe, that like she would help us. She would be supportive when we struggled with clients. When you weren't doing good and you needed correction, she didn't do it harshly. It was, I would tell her sometimes, like, you're too nice. Some people might take advantage because I thought of a particular person might have been, but in the general part, she was more helpful. She kind of like built up your confidence so you could do things on your own. You know, great qualities for supervisors being knowledgeable. If you're not knowledgeable, know your resources, know when to reach out and ask for help. Treat people like people. Be available. That's a huge one. Just be available for people, and recognize that we are more than just workers. You know, we don't have to be friends, but we do have to be friendly. And now with this, too, let me go to the stories of not so great supervisors. We had one that was famous for making people either cry or fly off on rages because he was super rigid, rude, condescending, treated us like toddlers, and you either got along with him by doing everything he wanted, or you were in constant fights with him because you were telling him no and that's not right, and he was not for that. Another supervisor that didn't know didn't know the program that we worked on, but she didn't look up the answers. She didn't know. She would like make a note to look it up, tell you later, and then that never happened. We didn't get a lot of like direction. Sometimes we were kind of like just running things on by ourselves and just letting her sign. It wasn't a very cooperative relationship, like working together. It was a big disconnect. Another one, it wasn't my supervisor directly, but just being like super stuck on this is the policy, you gotta do it this way. It's this way or the highway, no flexibility whatsoever. When you have too much work to do, you start seeing, spend more time doing this, less time doing that. No, she wanted everything done exactly the way it had to be with no exceptions. So people were struggling with keeping up with her demands when every other supervisor wasn't like that. Like five supervisors would approve 90% done. She would send it back three times until it was 100. And again, when it's little things like, this form that's just for internal tracking, does it really matter? Or, your spelling wasn't the greatest on this, but it's closed, we're done with them. No. Like little things that would not really make a difference. And I guess the worst kind of supervisor that management doesn't like is the ones that tells them no and that actually backs up their workers. They don't like that. We like it. Management doesn't. Okay, so that's my take on good and bad personality traits, I guess, and workers and supervisors to have. I don't know if this is helpful for anybody. I'm just running out of ideas because nobody leaves me comments on what I should do next. Okay, bye.